gonna go grab my syllogism. You know what?
Hunter, I already know the syllogism, dog. Let's just jump to it.
I know. I'm just gonna post it, so everybody can see it.
Griff, he believes the most simplest form in a sense of ontology is you only can say the simplest thing is information because in for you to say something
I
is the
sent it.
case or is the most simplest is an informative statement.
Yeah.
Oh my
Statements are
god.
either phatic, apophatic, or absurd. Phatic statements are necessarily informative.
Okay.
Apophatic statements are informative via reference. Indescribable objects are informed apophatically. Absurd statements are made up of informative values. Anything informed or informative is information. Differentiation and sameness are different, therefore differentiated, which is an informed statement. And then that means everything's information if it's ontologically
Okay.
sound.
So I don't disagree with the entirely that everything is information, but what I have a problem with is whenever, in a sense, we say something is simple, the simplest form it could take on is information. I believe we can get simpler than just saying it's information because, of course, you're going to use some reasoning to say that something is simple, so you're giving some informative proposition. But I still think the simplest form of ontology is more of a distinctive ontological perspective, and I can just say that X is this or X isn't this, and I still think that could be the simplest form by saying that it is a form of informative propositions, but it still can get simpler because we're using distinctions or more ontological parasitical perspectives.
But but I already have. But the problem is with like premise seven, which is the values of differentiation and the sameness are different and contain themselves, and that already puts that differentiation. If you differentiate two objects, they both rely on differentiation, which
Well, that's not
relies
what I'm
on being a
saying.
form of information.
But Hunter, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to convey is, for example, like you gave me the chair analogy in the past. Actually, we'll use this. If I have a rock and I break the rock again and again and again and again, till it gets to this simplest form, the second most simplest is to say something is informative, but you can go deeper into simplest forms because it may be informative, sure, but I can still bring up the topic itself and be like, oh, well, this is an informative proposition, but we still can say that this exists by virtue of the distinctions itself. And that's what I'm saying is it can
Okay,
get
but
simpler than that by
okay.
using
The
distinctions.
problem, you could try to assert that. The only issue there is that you develop this thing, which is that something being informed or informative means that it is made up of information, which means that the things
Hmm.
that you are denoting as the simplest objects are still being broken down further into information. And the other error is if you want to talk physical objects, and this is where the weird physics stuff comes in. If you break down a physical object into smaller particles like atoms, and then atoms to protons and neutrons, and then that into quarks, and then quarks into Planck fragments, you eventually break down into physical information, which is the literal wavelength of space and
Okay.
time.
Answer actually, I'll say it like this. In a sense, I would you agree that information is a form of knowledge?
No,
Okay, then we're gonna just argue about that because why is that the case?
because information is just as I define it, is the physical constant and or the immaterial constant of all objects that can be denoted. So if you can
Um,
denote an object, it is a
mhm.
state of information.
Okay,
So
yeah,
to
but
say, so
what
it's
I'm
not that it's
saying,
not that
okay,
information is knowledge, it's
wait,
that
Hunter.
information grants knowledge. Two different
Wait,
things.
no, because in a sense, for us to say knowledge is in itself, I would actually not knowledge. For us to say some version of information exists, we have to have the original notion of the idea, which is knowledge itself, the concepts. So it can
Why?
get simpler than just saying informative propositions. Because in
Why does that
99% most
require
cases, like
knowledge?
for example, I go to get a job. The reason of it is I either have the ideal of money or some reason that could obviously help me progress in life, and I want to go to get a job for this reason. What leads to something is more of a causal necessity, and I'm saying that we must have knowledge in a sense to require or supposedly define information itself.
Okay, but the problem with that is that you are presupposing that information is defined by qualia, which is not how I'm using information in these
Define
contexts at
qualia.
all. Do I actually have to explain qualia to you? Is that like a
No, I just want
legitimate
you to
thing?
define it. No, no, I know what it is. I know what it is. I want you to just define it for like everybody here.
What a pain. It's
Yeah, I know.
basically just that it's just the sense of mental perception of an object or thing.
Okay, mental perception.
To be really simple with
Okay,
it.
so how are you using qualia to substantiate or provide substance to your argument again?
Repeat.
Okay. How are you using qualia to give substance to your informative argument?
Um, I'm. What does that have to? That has nothing to do with my proposition or my
Well,
syllogism at
you're
all.
I'm asking for your last statement for you to repeat it again. That's what I'm
Oh, oh,
doing.
oh, oh, oh. Okay. You are presupposing my definition of information to deal with qualia. So you're talking about perceiving a statement, and because we perceive it and we are
Huh?
informed by that perception that it
That's not
is
my argument.
information. Okay, then exemplify better.
I'll just give an analogy. Okay, so for example, everything in a sense I'm saying has a causal necessity. That's why I bring up the job analogy. I'm saying, for example, you must have some form of ideal or concept, or you can say notion, I don't really care. You must have the ideal before you actually do the action itself. In most cases, that's what
Okay.
that leads to. I'm just saying most cases in life. And if
Okay.
that is the case, there was something in existence before informative things, because we must have knowledge to define information.
Oh, okay, cool. That's just what is that is in that isn't what information is. That doesn't debunk that information is the most simple thing. That would just debunk that an informed or informative value is the most simplistic thing. So that's already a
Uh,
problem there.
yeah, I think we define information a bit distinct because the way I define information is facts provided or learned about something or someone.
Okay. What I'm defining as ontological information is not the same as information in the sense of either data or physical information in the
Wait, sorry,
quantum
repeat that.
sense.
Sorry, I was like zoned out. Repeat that again.
My ontological information is neither information as in data perceived, and nor is it physical information, such as in like quantum systems.
Okay,
It's
then.
neither
So,
of
do
those.
you mind defining information one more time for me? Because I think last time you said it, I took it the wrong way, obviously, then.
Information, as it is defined, is just
Mm-hmm.
the source value and the source quality of all objects.
Well, that the way you're defining that is already kind of being called into question because Hunter, if you define it that way, then there's no way someone could say it's simpler because you're literally arguing nothing exists without information.
That's what ontological
That
simplicity is
okay,
as an
so I
argument
can just
for any
define something in that
ontologically
same
simple object.
aspect, Hunter, and it would just
Yes,
be
but the
both of our
difference
arguments are
is that
negated,
you would have to.
inclusive.
Okay, no, because you have to prove it,
Yes.
and I have a system of proof that isn't debunked.
Okay, what gives substantiation to your definition of information? What gives
The
substance to it? I'm
syllogism,
curious.
the syllogism.
The syllogism that's begging the question, because I'm calling the
How
question
is
if
it
it's
begging the
defined this
question?
specific
How is
way,
it begging?
because
Do you know what
because
begging the
it's already
question is?
assuming information.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's
Do you want me to
not.
define
The
begging the
conclusion,
question?
it's not assuming information is simple. It is going through the steps that lead to more simple forms,
Wait,
and it
that's not what I
correlates.
said, Hunter.
Okay, then it's not begging the question. Then
Let
it
me
doesn't matter.
repeat what I said. I said, in a sense, I'm calling into question a definition of information because if I was to prescribe something that exact same definition, of course, because it's you're presupposing that information in a sense is what we use to make all things exist or presuppose things exist in itself. That's why I'm being very skeptical of this definition because I
Okay,
cannot find this
yeah.
definition anywhere. It looks self-made, honestly.
Oh, that doesn't just because it's self-made doesn't mean shit. And it is
Okay, then
self-made. There's
what
a
reasoning, what
536 page
substance
peer-reviewed paper.
Okay, I'm gonna ask like this: what substance do you have to prove that information this way is defined like this? Because you're defining a specific way where it's kind of loaded. Like once you go into the debate and someone defines it as that, it's already a loaded fucking thing. Like you're
No,
already,
because
it
let's talk
is.
about it like this. No. Don't no. Because
Go ahead.
if we were to go about it this way, because there is actual ways to address this, and there's been ways that people have actually challenged this against me before, which is there's the thing with ontological simplicity, which you did bring up, which is they can
Hmm.
bring up something else that they can argue is ontologically simple. If you were to do that, the two people would have to go back and forth between not only their argumentation and their values for proving why it is ontologically simple. An
Okay, wait,
ontologically
Hunter. I'm
simple
sorry,
object.
but do you mind like rewinding that and putting it in layman's terms because I'm not really understanding their point because once again, it's still in the same sense presupposing that information is giving what provides us with everything and I guess like how do I say it? If I go into a debate and someone proposes me this definition of something, and this definition already presupposes that it is a very epistemological grounding for us to perceive in anything in existence itself, it's already loaded. Like you literally cannot beat that position. It's
You
already
can
loaded. So
say,
I'm being
okay,
skeptical of the definition.
okay. Yeah, you can be skeptical of the definition and you could try to, but you're not actually debunking the argument, which is the syllogism supposed.
Well, if
You are
I'm being
just calling it.
skeptical, well, yeah, that's my point. Is Hunter, I'm being skeptical of it itself because it's already loaded in a sense. If you can provide me with some substance of why it should be taken this way or defined this way, then yeah, I can
I
totally
gave that.
agree. But and I that's the problem is I'm being skeptical of that because once again, it's already presupposing what's being called in the question
Okay. You're just going circular and I'm not allowed to speak.
because you're not
So,
attacking it.
yeah, I did attack it twice.
No, you
I
didn't.
have a standing argument. I have a standing definition. I gave the reasoning for that definition, and I gave the values for that definition. Where's the error?
Wait, sorry, repeat that. I wasn't listening.
I gave you a syllogism, the reasoning for the definitions within the syllogism, the values of the things in the
Oh my
syllogism,
god.
and everything. You just
Okay.
calling it into question when you're not attacking it is not. You just have basis skepticism at this point.
Hunter, no, it's not because we both have distinct ways of defining information. And I'm asking you originally, the syllogism itself is already presupposing that this thing is inevitably true or
Where, where,
defined by it.
where?
So let's go to P1. Okay, hold up one second. Let me go back up to the fucking syllogism. If I could even find it. Hold up. We have to. Can someone like ping it in chat for me, please? Because this shit is
I have
not
it.
like I
I'll
can
read it.
find this.
Premise
You wanna,
one: statements are either phatic, apophatic, or absurd. What about that
okay.
assumes information?
Because once again, you're gonna based off the phatic or apophatic thing itself, which I don't know if anyone here knows what apophatic means, but it's pretty much where you're saying something exists by virtue of negative terms itself. In that sense, you're saying that it's either apophatic or it is fat. Oh, actually, Akano got it. If it is phatic or it's apophatic. Now, Hunter, you'd agree that phatic literally is just quite literally the opposition of apophatic, correct?
Apophatic just means able to be described either neutrally or positively. That's what phatic means.
Okay, so phatic statements are necessarily informative. Okay, it's
I did.
providing us. Oh, hold up, Hunter. P2 now. Once again, it's presupposing that this definition is taken the specific way.
How?
Because I'm calling in the question whether it should be taken the specific way or I should grant it being taken the specifically
Okay,
way.
but
And you're not giving me any
how is
substance of
P2
why.
assuming it? How is P2 assuming it?
Uh, informative.
Informative
You
doesn't
know what that
equal
means?
information. That
You're
doesn't mean
saying
information.
informate. Wait, no, you're saying what the how it goes because you try to hide the information thing until the very last end. But the problem is itself is you're still saying it's informative, so therefore it's information itself. But the problem is the way we define information will
Informative?
prescribe the
No, 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 no,
properties
no.
of what
Stop. I'm cutting
informative
you off.
means.
I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off.
Okay, do it.
Informative
I want to hear it.
informative in this argument doesn't equate to information necessarily. In fact, I have to reconcile that issue, and that's the reconciliation that is made in premise six. Which, if you want to attack premise six, we can talk about that because there's a difference between informative and informed. Do I have to go over the difference between that in an
If you want,
ontological
yeah, go ahead.
sense?
If you want, go ahead. I don't mind.
Okay, an informed object is some object that relies on another object for it to exist. Basically,
Perfect.
any
Continue.
ontologically complex object is informed. That's just how we define reliance. There's a plethora of
Um,
different terms. I just
yeah. So
prefer to
I
use the word
disagree with that again,
informed.
Hunter.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, informative means providing useful or interesting information. So Hunter, I'm going to ask you again. What is the very last term I just said? Like, what was it? Information?
Hey,
Because it
hey,
sounds like
buddy.
it.
Hey, buddy. That's not the
Go
term
for
I
it.
was talking about. And if you want to talk about that term, we can
Just
talk about
misusing
that
another
term
term.
next.
Great.
Okay, sure. The term informative in this case, in an ontological sense, because you're trying to attack this from an empirical sense, which isn't the
I'm
term that's
not.
being used. You
Where in the
are
hell did
because
I say that
you
information
just
has to be
defined,
fucking
you
empirical?
just defined, you just defined how we define empirical informative like values. Like
Okay.
something is informative empirically if it gives us some
Yeah.
form of information.
Um. Okay,
But in
Hunter.
this case, anything is
Wait,
informative.
repeat that. Repeat that. Actually, go ahead. Repeat that last statement you just said again.
I'm not going to talk if I can't say what I'm going to say. I didn't even finish
Well,
my
I just
sentence. I was
didn't hear
mid
your very
sentence
last
that time.
statement, so I apologize. Can
Okay,
you please
the
repeat the last
statement,
statement?
the statement, Reaper, is that
Mm-hmm.
in what you are trying to attack my thing with is not the definition that I gave earlier, and nor is it what I'm trying to talk about. Because informative, as you just defined it, is informative in the empirical sense,
And
which
how
is
is it
something
empirical?
it tells us. Because we are perceiving it and it tells us something. That's what informative and empirical data is.
Okay. In a sense, I'm not saying that's true because once again, I'm saying in a sense information is not limited to just empiricism. That's why I'm like saying how the fuck does me saying if I'm providing you with information, how does it entail that information is empirical? Like, could you see information, Hunter? Could you please show me where the fuck you see that at? Like, I'm actually curious.
What do you mean see? What do you mean by see?
Do you know what empirical means?
You know,
Senses?
empirical just means by the senses. You know, your mind is verbatim
Mhm.
a part
So
of
can
your
you
empirical data.
hear you can hear information, sure. The problem is
I can mentally describe information. That's there you go.
mentally.
That's a sense, is it not?
Okay, so
I
you're
would
not
argue that the mind is
using
a
your
sense.
intuition to define information?
Your intuition is a part of your mind. That's what I'm talking about. What the fuck are you on
That's
about
what I'm
this time?
saying. So if we're using this exact same argument to counter mine, I can supply that back to you for the original definition of information and you'd lose.
How does that make me lose?
Because
Reaper, I'm
once
actually
again, it's
thinking that you're going
empirical.
circular and being retarded.
No, I think I'm attacking everything you're saying. You're just not understanding it.
You're not. You're not attacking shit. You're just trying to
Well,
say that
because you're
my
trying
definition.
to debunk it because it relates to empirical, but I'm saying in the same sense where you define information, you're using your intuition to define that, the same way that I'm using my intuition to define informative. If that is the same case and it's
That
wrong
doesn't
because I'm using some empirical status, I can apply the same thing for you defining information using your intuition, and you would just be contradicting your entire groundings of your argument.
how does that contradict it? Like that's not
Because
contradicting.
according to
That's just
you, it's
saying
an
that you have a
empirical definition, not just it's not
stop
limited.
cutting me out. No, stop cutting me out.
Go ahead.
That just
Go ahead.
means that you have a contradicting definition. Just because there's two definitions for a word that exist doesn't mean that one of them is wrong or both of them are equal or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's context that matters.
Well, Hunter, that's not what I'm saying. Again, what I'm saying is you're saying the definition I'm giving relates to an intuition, which is part of the brain, hence empirical. And I'm saying in that same exact sense, you are using your intuition to define information to me. Yes or no?
That doesn't debunk my argument though. I don't care.
Well, it's empirical. It's not fully relating to not just empirical things. You'd lose. Your definition's already wrong.
That
Like,
no,
boom.
that doesn't mean that.
Fuck.
That doesn't entail
It
that.
does.
That doesn't entail
It
that.
does.
That doesn't entail that. That doesn't entail that.
I think it does.
You're presupposing an entailment. That's what you're doing.
What does presuppose mean? Is that an intuitive thing?
Presupposing
Hmm.
means prescribing a value, which means you are
Okay,
defining a
so is
value
that what you
before
did
any
to the definition
descriptions
of
are made.
information? Okay, so is that what you did to
No,
information or no? Okay, so
no.
what'd you do to information then? Tell us all how it's
I
not empirical.
described it. I described
Okay, you
it
described it
doesn't
using your
matter if it's
intuition.
empirical or not, you fucking idiot. You're
Well,
retarded.
according to you, if it's empirical, it's wrong. It's not related to something outside just general empiricism. So you'd be contradicting your
No,
own argument.
I never said it didn't have to be empirical. What the fuck you want?
Okay, then then your substance of your argument to negate mine is wrong already. So then you concede on that point. Move on.
What am I? No, no, no. What am I? What you are presupposing my argument? What are you
You said
talking
that
about? I never said
definition
that.
is
I never said
empirical.
that.
You said that
I
yourself, and that's why you're relating
No,
that
no, no. I
yours is
said
more
no, no,
analytical than
no, no,
mine.
no, 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 no. Okay,
Yes.
apparently you
Mm-hmm.
have the
Mm-hmm.
brain of a toddler. Okay,
Of
Reaper.
course,
Because this
you just
time
don't
I'm
know what
actually getting
empiricism is.
annoyed.
Great.
No, no, no,
I
no,
know.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
Reaper. I didn't say you're misreading what I'm saying. I didn't say because your definition is empirical. That's not what I said. I said because it
You
relates
literally said
to
that word for
the
word. You want to stop
study.
recording?
If you
Like
cut me
word
off
for
one more
Yo,
fucking
time,
word. You
Reaper,
said.
if you
Reaper, Reaper,
cut me
Reaper,
off one
Reaper,
more
Reaper.
time.
Let him
Yeah, what's
finish.
up, Akano?
Let
Okay,
him
go ahead.
finish.
Okay, what I said, Reaper, was that it relates to empirical data. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
said.
Mm-hmm.
All definitions, no matter what definition you give, whether it's prescribed or described, they're all going to be intuitionally empirical. That doesn't debunk my argument. All I'm saying
Okay.
is that what you are stating, which is when you defined information in that way, I just said, well, that's not the definition I am using. Just because you
Mm-hmm.
have that definition doesn't debunk the definition I have here.
Okay.
Eh,
So, Hunter, I'm gonna ask you a genuine question. When I defined informative, you brought up it's more of an empirical way of defining it. Now
No,
I'm
I
gonna
didn't.
ask
I said
you.
it was, that's not what I said.
Okay,
Point blank.
bro.
I just clarified that. I just clarified that it has to
Empirical
relate
status.
to,
Okay, right terms now. We good now?
okay, that, but that's
Okay,
different
there we
from what you're
go. Now
trying to
we can
argue towards
progress.
me. Okay, so
So
if
I'm gonna
your
ask
point,
you once again. Wait, can I ask you a question first?
sure,
Yeah. Okay. What I'm saying in a sense, Hunter, is what you brought up was it was more of an empirical status. So I'm gonna ask you the same question that you asked me. Why, in the sense of where you're being informative, when are you not using your intuition? It's not relating to some empirical status.
that doesn't
Could you
matter.
tell me? I think it does.
No. The thing is, Reaper, is you're going back to trying to attack my thing in the same way when we already
I am.
got to this point where we just fucking agreed that what you thinking that I was trying to say is not what I was trying to say at all. When I say
I
that
corrected
your
myself and
definition,
said status for a reason.
okay, but can you tell me what empirical statuses has to do with my argument at all? Because I never like originally brought them up. I just said that
Okay.
like your definition applies to empirical data and mine doesn't. So we are using different definitions. So we have to reconcile that problem. And you
Well,
are just
that's what
using
I'm
it to attack
saying
my
is
argument.
well, that's where I'm saying is that I think every definition you give to me is based off of the
Yeah.
intuition. In a sense, it's gonna have some empirical status. Anything has that, right?
Okay, but that doesn't debunk my argument.
Okay, then. So what? Okay, if they're both hold an empirical status, then obviously there's no distinction between them. It's just how you define yours in a distinct way. So the
Whoa, whoa,
substance
whoa,
that was
whoa.
wait, the substance you had for your argument is now contradictory.
No, it isn't.
Okay, then how
Because
is it not empirical?
okay, just because, again, I said this and I'll say it for the fourth time,
Go ahead.
just because we have two different definitions that are not the same doesn't mean either of them are wrong or either of them are correct. It just means that we are
Uh,
using terms in different manners. I could change information for any word I want. Like in this case, if I wanted to make the word information in my argument be the word
mhm.
Chazal Black, and Chazal Black means X, right? That
Yeah.
doesn't change my argument. It's
Okay,
just
that's
we're
where.
using the same word in different
Okay,
ways.
then. In a case, what I'm doing is I'm just saying that there's a possibility of this not being the case. What I'm asking you is to provide me with some substance of why your definition should be the one we utilize in this debate.
The reason why it's the definition we should utilize in this debate. I
Yes.
already gave a reason for that at the beginning of the debate.
And I'm sorry, but your reasoning, which I just applied an equal interpretation to, and you just fumbled again.
I did you my guy, just
Yeah,
because you
better.
apply
Continue.
quote unquote equal interpretation doesn't change because the debate is about my argument. So the context of my argument is the
Oh
context
my
in which the
God.
terms are going to be addressed.
Okay, Hunter, once again, that's not addressing what I'm saying. You came into this debate with a loaded definition, and I'm calling it
It's
into
not a loaded
question now
definition.
because it's
It's
loaded.
not a
Well, if
loaded
a person
definition.
agrees to that definition, they
No,
instantly fucking lose. Yes, they do.
I already
Yes,
addressed
they
how
do.
you can attack it. I already addressed how you can attack it from an other perspective. You can
Okay.
argue
Hmm.
ontological complexity, ontological parasitism, a different
Or you can just
ontologically
say there's
simple
another
object.
definition we can use that's not loaded. We can definitely do that too.
That doesn't change the
Do you
argument. It's
understand
not
that?
loaded.
It does
It's not
change the argument
loaded.
because
It's
if
not
information
loaded.
is
It's
defined
not loaded.
distinctively, it doesn't
It's not
work or
loaded.
pursue the
It's not loaded.
properties to
It's not
informative.
loaded.
You can
It's
keep
not
repeating
loaded.
yourself, but I'm
It's not
drowning you,
loaded.
pussy.
You're not.
I am.
It's not loaded. You haven't proved that it's loaded. I already
Okay, I'm
addressed how it's
sorry.
not loaded.
Hunter, if it is information the way you defined it, informative relies on the prescribed properties of information, right? Yes or
Informative.
no?
What do you mean by that? Like
So you just lost.
elaborate.
Okay. What I'm saying is information is defined in a specific way.
Okay.
Informative is literally, by definition, just giving information. But what
Okay,
I'm
but that's
saying
not the definition
is it
I'm
already
using.
begs the question because yes, you are.
No, I'm not. That's not the definition of
Okay, then
informative
what
that I
definition
gave.
of informative are you using? What are you using?
Okay, since I have to go back to this for the third time, okay,
Yep. Go ahead.
informed is some object that is reliant upon something that is informed. For example, we have an apple. An apple relies on amino acids. So
That's literally what I just said. Like
apples
you literally
are
repeated what the fuck I said.
stop cutting me the fuck off because that's informed. That's not
Talking, but don't moderate.
informative. Two different things. I don't
I
care. I can agree to
literally
whatever.
defined I defined informative for everybody here, Hunter.
Okay,
Even
and
if there
I
is some way,
didn't agree to
I'm gonna
that.
attack that. Can I attack the analogy, please? Because like that's gotta get out the way
I'm not
first.
done talking. No. Okay,
You're
because I'm
kind of
trying to
rambling though.
differ.
Oh, it
I'm
sounds like
trying to differ. I'm trying to differentiate informed and
Go ahead.
informative. Okay, informed is in this, it's an ontological reliance. Okay, informative,
And what does that mean?
they are
Layman's terms.
different thing. What do you
Yeah,
mean
what does that
layman's
mean?
terms?
Layman's
Layman's
terms.
terms for what? For
Make
what?
it simpler,
What?
understandable to anybody.
Okay, a something
Do
that
it.
is informed is reliant on another object or idea to
Okay.
exist.
So I'm
And
gonna
then
ask you, where in the
informative, I'm not done
okay.
talking. We're done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done with this.
Okay.
I can't
Well,
say a full
Hunter,
sentence
before
without being
you
cut over. No, this is done.
okay,
Fuck
you know
you.
what? I'll be cordial. I'll be cordial.